Hey, I'm Kati Spaas, and I'm a world-renowned author and speaker on high sensitivity and a retired coach to professional artists and performers. Spotlight Stress is your guide to build confidence, find your superpower, and claim your shine. I wonder, if you receive 50 awards for your first movie, Jacqueline Murphy, do you still have space on your shelves or do you just like put them in boxes? How does that work?
Well, they're behind me. This is one of my what was this for? For the best lead actress that I ever got in London. And I keep them because, Kathy, I like to be reminded of wonderful things that have happened. And right now in my screenwriting class, we're doing an amazing exercise about empowerment, which is what my film The Admired was about, to make your dreams come true and empower yourself. And if you can remember times when something happened that you loved, or that really amazed you, or that you were so in the zone, or that you always dreamt of, and remind yourself, like, I love doing my acting. I love all the amazing things that happen to me when I'm acting, instead of feeling the negativity, like I didn't get this role, I'm rejected, which you'll see in my film, The Admired. Um, the actress, she gets rejected in the first 5 minutes and she's like, what's wrong with me? But a lot of the times there's nothing wrong with you. It's just a way of shifting your thinking and giving yourself permission to go for it. So I really believed in doing this film. It's about Olivia Spencer. She's an actress that dreams of being a big movie star. And even more so, she loves old Hollywood in the 1940s. And she loves watching Rita Hayworth, but especially Veronica Lake. Because Veronica had this hair that would cover her eye, and she had like a very flirty way about her. And so she wants to be all she can be, but in modern day Hollywood, it's just so difficult with all the competition and everything that goes on there. So she magically meets this devil who allows her to go back to old Hollywood of the 1940s and be a big movie star, but she needs to sell her soul. So it's a Faustian deal. And it was so much fun. I directed, wrote, produced, and starred in it. And I got to play out a dream role. And I did it because I loved it. And I said to my husband, who I've been married to for 30 years, this will be fun. When we're 90, I can watch this and say, okay, well, look what we did. So I did it out of passion, out of fun, out of keying into what my dreams were. And I never felt more positive or empowered. But when I did win the Best Lead Actress Award, it was the first Lead Actress Award I'd ever won. I looked at him and I said, well, now I can put my head down on the pillow, at least like I've won an award, because it's about acknowledgement. But I think the strongest thing in the world is to acknowledge yourself. So there were a lot of things I learned about how far I could push myself. And the other thing that I'm really big on is finding your hidden talents. There's so many things that you have no idea that you can really do unless you try them. And some of us are, can be in that frame, well, I don't have time, or I'm not good enough. And you have to connect to that person inside of yourself and believing yourself and make that time and commit to that time, even if it's 5 minutes. Like I told you yesterday, I had an audition to do and there was so much dialogue. And I have changed so much because it used to be about, oh, let me see how great I can be, how perfect it can be. And now it's about, let me just get going. Let me get this done. And I did like 4 takes with my husband. And the last take that we used, I thought, oh, come on now, you know it, have some fun with it. So if you're not having fun with it, then why do you want to do it? What's going to come out of you that's creative? What's going to come out of you that's passionate and special and fun and to bring your best self forward? And I think people are magnetized to that. which is why I found what you do so interesting, because I believe you call what your company the Shine.
Well, not my company, but I love to use my tagline, which is claim your shine and own it. And I just love what you're sharing there, because what I'm hearing is like, instead of going for perfection and thinking how it should be done, like for example, in an audition, you are using flow and fun to do it. And not only will that provide better results, but also, a lot more fun when you're doing it. I just wrote an article about that this week for a magazine for highly sensitive people. And it was the entire topic, actually, that, especially when we're highly sensitive, we are so occupied with what people think about us and what we think we should do in order for them to like us or think that we're doing a good job, but that is really taking us away from the passion and the fun. And everything I hear about you, Jacqueline, is like, there is so much passion and so much fire, and you are really following your flow and your fun. And I think that is absolutely what energy will resonate with. And I think it's very logical that you won 50 awards. If I only hear you speak so passionately, and the magic that you've created in and around this movie, and that is the attraction. So I think it's amazing to see what you've done. And you were talking to me earlier about the sorceress, and finding those hidden talents. So now I'm curious, because that's a little bit similar to what I love to do as well. And tell me more about it. How do you bring that to life?
Okay, so I was very fortunate growing up. My mom was an artist and she could play piano by ear. She would hear a song she liked, she could sit down and play it. And my husband always kids me. I grew up in a very free household, like go for it. And I always felt that I could be anything I wanted. I, so I like to set myself free and run wild and encourage other people to set themselves free and run wild. And then you can start to see the magic and the shine within yourself. And so it is interesting, Kathy, as we're talking, because with The Admired, it was about the magic. What if? Like, okay, I'll make this deal with the devil. Make a deal with yourself, is my message. Make a deal with yourself to just give yourself what you dream of, because we're on this planet for who knows how long. And I do want to leave something special behind for people that I love. And so I think that if you could tap into your highest self, your best self, that source of fun and flow that you spoke about, then you can create amazing things. So it's interesting that The Admired was about this woman who sold her soul to have magic. And I realized that during COVID, I wanted to increase my writing skills. And I was watching shows like Discovery of Witches. And right now I'm so hooked on House of Dragons and Lord of the Rings, but they all have magical fantasy elements to it. So I decided, all right, The Admired is done. I'm pitching it for a TV show. But what if you've got 5 seasons in a TV show? How about if she becomes a sorceress and finds that hidden talent that I really believe we all have hidden talents, and she finds that she can do magic and read her tarot cards, but even more so, time travel and transport herself to any era, but not just for folly, but to make a difference, to learn about it. Like we love to travel. So, when you go to a country, you're seeing new things. And I always feel so excited and alive. So, yeah, I think it's about finding the magic in you. And I really love exploring that subject.
I love it, because I always think that magic is everywhere, and it feels like, you as a person are a little bit the role that you played. Is that correct?
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah, absolutely. my husband said, I never saw you do better acting. And he said, why was that? And I don't know if it was because I created it, if it was a fantasy that I could just step into, but it felt like so right. And also the Cicada Club in downtown LA, where we shot this, it was like a 1920s club that they do a lot of shoots, like with Scarlett Johansson, and it's in a lot of different shows. You could see it. You step on set and you feel like you're back in time. And so that this set really, and the costume, and adds a lot to helping you portray and get into character. Yeah.
I think that's amazing. I'm sure that that helps, especially for us empathic, intuitive, sensitive people, that like it's like the environment penetrates your energy as well, and then you can uplift your character even more with everything you feel about that because you've created it, obviously. That's so interesting. And if I might be so blunt to ask, like, we all have all the magic that we want in the world. And for yourself personally, what would be the thing you would create in your life if you can use your magic free for yourself?
For me or for other people
For
or
you, for you.
well, it's interesting because in the screenwriting class we have you start your writing assignments every day with your vision. And well, first, I mean, I'm so grateful for the love I have with my husband and the life I have and the ability to be bi-coastal, which was a dream. And 10 years ago, when I started going out to LA, that was the dream and the magic that I wanted to create. And my first year there, I booked a national Geico cheerleader coach commercial with the iconic caveman and NFL star Brian Orakpo. And my husband, I thought it was just a one-time thing going out to LA. And my husband said, you did really good. Do you want to go back? So I really was able to create this life that of a creative actress, writer, producer, director. So I would say like to do more of that. I mean, I'd love to work with Ryan Murphy, and I'd love for my work to be acknowledged and sought after and produced and made into TV and films. And, I'm an actress of a certain age, I'm not an ingenue. But I'd like to be like Nicole Kidman and break through and have like amazing roles like that, but yet to live a really balanced life. I start every day in nature. I go outside in LA and I'm blessed to have an apartment on the ocean and I have my coffee there in the morning. Here I walk down to the cliff and I have my coffee there every morning and try to get in touch with my intuition like you. So, because I think you have an inner voice inside of yourself and you kind of know how to handle things and know what to do. And I felt so strongly about doing the admired. Um, and then the universe gives you signs sometimes. Um, the Cicada Club was somewhat expensive to shoot at. And one of the actresses knew one of the people who run the club. And I I really stretched for that because I knew it would make a difference. And my father had passed away in 2006, and we were shooting this in 2017. And I kid you not, his estate somehow something got sold, and I got a check for $6,000 to cover the cost of what it would be to rent this place, which was huge for me at the time. And and that was a sign. So back to your question about what do I hope for? I hope to, keep creating and growing and getting better at my craft and what I do, and have projects that inspire not only myself but others, especially my nieces and nephews who I adore. I'm going to sneeze. Oh, excuse me.
Bless you.
But and others that they're moved by it, um, and that they think, well, maybe I can do that, or maybe makes a little difference in their life. I mentioned the other script I'm writing called Opioid Daze, which is based on true reality of when I was a registered nurse in my 20s at New York Hospital in the 90s, when the opioid crisis began. And people started getting hooked on this. And fast forward to today, it's become a national crisis, a worldwide crisis. And, I see young kids getting hooked on it when they go for shoulder surgery, or women or men, and addiction is something that is, very painful and hard for so many people and families. So, I just want to somehow point a light at things that help make the world a better place, not to be Pollyanna or whatever, but just to point things out, or maybe people see things in a different way, and and make the world a little bit better.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think that in that way we're a little bit similar, doing our own thing and following our own passions and spreading our love and light in that way with the world. I just think you're doing a better job than me because you've got a lot more.
I'm older than you. I'm older than you. I
No,
mean,
but it's not a competition. That's okay. So I'm really so
no.
happy to have you here, and I just want to circle back to that connecting with your inner voice. So that is something that I think that most of my clients, when we started working together, was the hardest thing for them to do, because especially with our brain going, everywhere, because we're so attentive to everything, it's really hard to come back to yourself and to connect with your own inner voice. So what was your go-to tip, exercise, tool that you use, like, to really connect with that deeper part in yourself?
Well, I think it began really young. I'd go to church with my grandmother, and my sister and I would sing on the top of our lungs. We had fun in church. But then, growing up in a 3-bedroom house with 7 people, I shared my room with my 4 sisters, and my brother had his own room, and my parents. I needed to find peace. There was no doubt, and I would go and write poetry at Brook Hall, which was a beautiful park with like a river waterfall, or I would wrap a towel around my bike and go down to the beach, because I told you Long Island is on the water and there are amazing beaches here. People from Europe come here from all over because it's the most amazing beaches you'll ever see. But I'm biased. But I would find peace there. I would take the towel. I'd get there. It was like a 15-minute bike ride. I'd lie down at the beach and just let the sun come over me and feel the white and, light. And I'd go back home and my stepfather would say, "You're feeling better, right?" So I made that connection early on, that being alone and being quiet, and especially being in nature,
Yeah.
really does feed your soul. And in my 20s, I started taking yoga before it was in vogue. And one day the teacher didn't show up. And the older women in the class said, "Jacqueline, you're really good at this. Will you teach?" So I started teaching them. But that again was connection, mind, body, soul connection, and quieting the body down so that you can hear yourself. So I know not everybody has that. I know that some people find it very difficult. But if you think of this, my husband's a businessman, and it's almost like a mantra. We were walking on the beach yesterday, and if his mind would go someplace, I would just say, "Unplug." Or even when my mind starts to race, I just think of breathe, or think of God like just covering me with a blanket and dropping my cares at his feet and letting him handle it. Um, and you have to develop that,
Yeah.
bring your mind back to it. And also, like I said earlier, just make that time, commit to yourself, because if you can't commit to yourself, no one else is. Commit to yourself 5 minutes to do what you love. You're writing. You look beautiful today, Kathy. You put your makeup on beautifully. You did your hair to make yourself feel good. I even said to my husband yesterday, I said, I had to remind myself to give myself the 40 minutes or 30 minutes to work out at some points during the summer, or to go to the salon and get my hair and my nails done, and remind myself while I'm there, I should enjoy it. So it's really like sitting down on your, just getting down on it and just say, this is time for me. Why are we
Yeah.
so stingy with giving time to yourself? You have 2 children, and you really have to be kind to yourself, because once you're taken care of, they will be, so that's really how I think. And it's hard. There's so many distractions.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely true. And the more hectic and chaotic life is, the easier it is for our brain to keep us distracted from doing that. So
Mm-hmm.
in my case, I do the exact same things, but I have that scheduled in my calendar. So, that's just part of my day, which is as important as having this interview with you. It's just like it's set. There's so many people who treat those appointments with themselves as if they're minor, but I think it's the most important thing. It's like, like Gandhi said, I meditate an hour a day. And when I'm really, really busy, I meditate 2 hours a day. But what we tend to do is when we're really, really busy, we don't meditate at all. And that's exactly when we need it the most. So I think that also has a big connection to those addictions, like your opioid story, but also like what I see with a lot of artists, there's so many addictions. If it can go from drugs to alcohol to sex to sugar to you name it.
Keeping
I've
busy.
experienced that myself as well. I'm sorry.
No, to keeping busy and get the adrenaline
Yeah,
rush, running
or
from
that
event to event to,
social media.
and then you totally miss yourself, and one of my friends said, I'm just so tired of going to lunches and parties. I need to find a hobby. I need to find a purpose,
Yeah,
and I'll give Carrie Messina, who we met through from Actors Transformation, a plug. What I love about Carrie, she will commit, make the time for this, take it seriously, do the work, and then you feel so good after you have done certain things that it kind of reinforces that habit, just like the writing and the
yeah,
empowerment exercise I told you about. I love, interviewing people like you do, or I love writing my scripts. I love getting my auditions out on time, and I have so much fun with them. You know, Something that may seem funny, but to really internalize it, like Hal says, to put what you love in left hand and put what you need to do in the right hand, and bring them together and breathe it in. And I do that, and believe it or not, I feel amazing, because I've connected it to such a positive state with what I love in my left hand. So if
yes,
you feel anxious, or you hate going to auditions or interviewing people or being overloaded, I love, and I'm really great at multitasking, and just breathe and take that few minutes to bring it together, which will
yes.
center yourself.
But that's also what I noticed when a few years ago I was in a severe burnout, and like even going for a walk with the dogs, which is definitely something to do to recharge my batteries, but that was like something on my to-do list. So it was becoming hard. It was becoming a task.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
also the more you take that time to connect with yourself, the more you can start to enjoy the other things again as well. And you can just, like you said earlier, shift your perception, um, instead of thinking about how it's hard or negative or difficult. You can just shift it towards, oh, this actually can serve me. This is something I
right.
do that serves me as well.
Yeah, I say to myself and my husband, I say, your iPhone, right? We have to plug it in every night to recharge it. If you're not recharging it, or if you overload your computer, it's going to freeze. Well, why do we treat ourselves differently? It's the same thing. If you don't get sleep, if you don't eat, nourish yourself, if you don't do certain things, if you don't tap into a passion for creativity, or what you love to do, then you're going to start feeling like upset, resentful, whatever. Recharge, because you'll have that much more energy. And there's
And
always
then,
tomorrow.
when you don't do that, that's when you'll try to escape. And that's where we lose ourselves a lot easier in addictions,
And
because there's
disappointment. Yeah.
disappointment, there's no clarity, sometimes there is a goal, but there's so much going on, there's so much overstimulation. Sometimes we just want to numb everything. But when we do what we just discussed, and like you shared so beautifully with your examples, when you do those things, you don't need to run. So that is why I think this is so interesting that we have a little chat on the topic, because there's so many people who can benefit from doing little things like just basking in the sunlight, just taking it in and be like a little Care Bear, Care Bear shine, and then just feel that energy come in and feel it filling you up and shining back out. And you're reloaded in 2 seconds when you make that like a daily commitment, for example. It's just short. It doesn't always have to be meditating an
It's a
hour.
breath. I go down to the cliff in the morning or at the ocean in Santa Monica and I just breathe in, grateful. I mean, that's it. That's all you need to do. Just get up and move and breathe in. Or if I'm tired, I go in the bedroom and I do a reverse yoga pose. I put my feet up the wall and the blood flows the other way. Or there's so many apps now, or just to close your eyes and breathe for 5 minutes. Why do it's just so important to do that. And starting out with gratefulness every day for what you have is huge, because you're not stuck with, oh, I should have done this, I don't have that, I need to do this. It's like, oh my God, I have this interview with you and you're all the way in Belgium. And how amazing is that? I get to meet a new person, and when you start to think and go on and on, who has like-minded awareness about intuitiveness and empathy and sensitivity, the more sensitive you can be and intuitive with yourself, the happier I really feel you will be.
Yeah, I think that is the perfect sentence to close our conversation with, because that is what it's all about. So thank you so much, Jacqueline, for joining us today, and hope to talk to you soon.
Same here. My pleasure. Thanks for having me on, Kathy. Bye-bye, everybody.